Welcome to Humans Aren't Real podcast. I'm Wolf Vision, and with me is Frylock. Today's episode is a game adaptation of the same name, Borderlands. Prepare for spoilers, and here we go. Let's start off with what is similar from the game to the movie. Fry?
Okay, so first thing I will say, full disclosure,
Yeah.
Borderlands 1, the original game, when it comes to the story, I know the least about.
Okay.
Like the second one, I know the story very, very well. The story was great. But the first one, when I played it, I wasn't like a huge fan. I almost actually abandoned the game. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like even when I continued playing it, I never focused on the story beyond the fact that there's this planet that has these vaults. Then you have vault hunters. You're a vault hunter. You're trying to collect these keys to open the vault. Pretty much to me, that was the story of the original. So the details and the villains and some of the characters, I don't really remember. I don't
Okay.
know. But there are some things like I will say Tiny Tina is not in the original game.
Right.
So there's stuff
She's
like that I'm
in
very well aware of.
a later part of the series, right? She's in part two
She
or
is in the if I
Borderlands 2.
yes, she shows up in Borderlands 2.
Right.
And she has a spin-off game now, which is a phenomenal game. It's basically Borderlands with like a magic type medieval style gameplay. So imagine like if you mix Borderlands with like Skyrim type of thing. That's kind of what the Tiny Tina Wonderlands, Tiny
Okay.
Tina Wonderlands is what it was. Kind of like what that is, and it's an awesome game. It's just as good as the rest of them. But
Okay. So if you could describe Borderlands to somebody that hasn't played it before. So I've played it, but say someone's listening that has never played Borderlands, how would you describe it?
okay, so first thing I would say, it is the original looter shooter video game. Like you've got all kinds of them now, like Destiny, the Division, multiple other things I could say if I just thought about it. But it kind of invented that genre, and for me personally, it definitely did. It was one of the first ones like that I did, that I played. So it's basically a looter shooter where you are a vault hunter. And this vault is said to hold like an extreme treasure or power. That's what it is. It's like the power to do everything. You open this vault and what's inside will give you the power to make your dreams come true.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people across the universe that are vault hunters that know about this and they're out to get that power. So
Right.
you play as one of those vault hunters and just main story, you're trying to get these keys to open the vault and just level up your character, your guns, your shields, your grenades, different mods. You just kind of progressing with things like that to open this vault.
So there's like weapon customization, right?
Yeah, that was one of the big things with the advertising of the original one was just like there is a billion possible gun combinations, I guess is a way to say it.
Yeah.
Like you could have a pistol and you can have that same pistol, but it has like a corrosive effect. And then you can have that same pistol and it has like fire, like it'll set things on fire when you shoot them. And then each one of those variants will have a certain percentage of something else and so forth and so on. So if you can think of like one gun and literally every single thing that's possible in the game, there's a variation of that gun. So that
Right.
one gun alone, I mean, you're talking hundreds of different examples of it, even though some of them are just different enough that they can say it's different, but essentially it kind of feels like the same thing. But
Yeah.
like that was their big thing was like there's so many guns that you can collect in this game, and that's what they leaned on with the advertisement was definitely about the different types of guns and the variants of those guns. And it's just like there's tons and tons of guns. I wish I could remember what the tag they had like a little tagline with the trailers and stuff I remember, but I just can't remember what it was. But it was all about the guns.
Right. That was a big part of the game was customization. You can make the gun, you can play how you want, and
Yeah.
all these different like aspects to customization.
Even though
Uh,
it lacked in the character type customization.
right. Uh,
Yeah.
I think the first one you got to select between four characters. I think.
Yeah, and even that, like you'll get different like costumes, but they're none of them are so drastically different that it really matters. They're just slightly different shades of the same color or different colors. So it's like you've got other games where you can literally make the character look exactly like you
Yeah.
by like, adjusting their cheeks and their chin and stuff like that. And it's definitely nowhere near like that. It's like
Yeah.
the most basic thing possible, and that's disappointing. But at the same time, that's not what I'm playing that game for, anyways. So for me, it kind of gets a pass. It doesn't matter, but it's a shame that it's not an option, I guess.
But it's a four-player co-op, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. I don't
Okay.
know how I forgot about the co op aspect because that was one of the games that I actually was able to get my wife interested in gaming
Yeah.
was the original Borderlands. We played that together. The second one we played like crazy, but there was that in the one of the Call of Duties where they introduced bots. Those were the two games that I was able to get her to kind of start getting into it. And now she's put I don't know how many hours into like Dragon Age and the Harry Potter game. Oh man, she when that Harry Potter game came out, like I'll even admit it looked good to me, and I don't like Harry Potter at all.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I'm
fun.
just not interested, but it looks good. I'm like, all right, like that's a
Yeah.
cool aspect. There was like a game mechanic in it that I thought was really cool, where it's like going through these mirrors or something. I can't remember what it is. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, I digress. We were talking about Borderlands.
Yeah. Um, so there's a game called Hellgate London, which is similar to Borderlands in the aspect of you get weapon customizations. And it was really fun. It was more an MMO type style game. And I had a lot of fun with that one. You could play with other people. It got canceled. They brought it back. And then it like shifted to international. There was a lot of controversy around it shifting companies and places and servers. But
Great
the
PC game.
mechanics,
It's looking like.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
Borderlands was more PC and console.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was an awesome game. And Borderlands, to me, is you have to play it co op.
And
Because when I played by myself, I felt like, oh, I got this really cool gun, and I just like shoot all these bad guys up with, let's say, a hand cannon that's split with firing three bullets that are all fire, and then the enemy goes flying because it has a huge knockback. And it looks cool, but you're by yourself, and there's like, okay, well, it doesn't really matter what weapon I have then. It's just I'm shooting these guys and they're falling over.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I will say personally, playing it by myself, like I did thoroughly enjoy playing it by myself, but there is something special to the multiplayer aspect. Like it is way more fun, like a lot of multiplayer games, when
Yeah.
you're in a lobby or like a group with a bunch of people that you either play with or that you actually are friends with, and it definitely adds something extra. And it is definitely like a big thing with Borderlands, the multiplayer aspect. But I've gotten kind of used to the whole like single player experience that most of the people I used to play online games with, they just don't play those games anymore, or
Right.
we're not on the same platform. So it's like I've just gotten so used to playing by myself, I don't even really think twice about it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some games that like really pop solo that have multiplayer aspects, and it's somewhat fun still. Um, I guess Left 4 Dead would be kind of similar to that, where you playing it by yourself, it increases the difficulty, but it's still pretty fun.
Now, see, Left 4 Dead's a little different too, though, because even if you played by yourself, they didn't just exclude the other three players. They just had like AI bots playing with you.
Right, right.
So it wasn't like if it was like Left 4 Dead was just you, no bots, in a single player experience, that game would not have been fun for me. What I did really like about that game is that was a game my wife really loved, and it was another one of those games that we played a lot together. And just
Co-op.
even if it, huh?
The co-op aspect, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And even if it was just me and her, the fact that we had the bots still helping us, even though we didn't have people that were ready or able to play at that time,
Yeah.
like I really did like that. Kind of like the bots they did in Call of Duty. Kind of like you can kind of practice, I guess, without just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if you don't play Call of Duty nonstop, like if you don't play every day, you're gonna fall behind. I got real good for a while, and then I stopped playing for like a week, and then went back. I
Yeah.
just got annihilated. I'm just like,
Well, that
literally,
happens.
you can't take a day off of that game. It's insane.
All right. Well, moving on to the movie aspect of Borderlands now. We'll just be going over in a few different arcs. We're going to start with the first portion of it, which was kind of quick, is the rescue arc from Roland.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost so quick that they could have gone without it, but also I
So,
don't think it hurt anything. You know what I mean?
so watching it a second time, it set up his character in the aspect of, is he really there to just save her, bring her back to her dad, or rescue her so she's not going back to her dad? Doing air quote with the finger things.
Yeah.
Because later, when we get into the vault arc of it, then it's just like, oh, well, it's because he did that because someone else told him to rescue her because she's part of the vault. So it almost seems like his character didn't really care about her, but I guess the way that Kevin Hart played the character, it's like, oh no, he cares about her, but he only did all that stuff because the um what was her name, Tanis, told him to go and get Tiny Tina.
Dude, the vibe that I got that I feel like could have been done without the slight introduction, but the vibe that I got was like Roland knew how important the whatever is in the vault, how powerful that is. He knew that in the wrong hands it could be dangerous for everyone.
Uh huh.
And so for me, I totally bought that whole like vibe to where it's like we can't let him get a hold of it, so we have to get the vault. Like what is that like a selfish act, I guess. It wasn't like he wanted the vault. It was that he didn't want a specific person to get it because he knew that would be bad for humanity. And I feel like you could have done that without that introduction. I feel like if he had just, it actually probably would have been better because when he rolls up in the vehicle after Lilith goes to get Tina, And she's like, oh, he's been gone for a long time, or however long she says. And then he pulls
Yeah.
up later. You could have gotten that same effect in that moment. You didn't have to introduce. You could have told that story of the introduction in that moment, and he could have explained, like, we can't let him get a hold of the whatever's in this vault. He will destroy the universe, humanity, like it will be bad for everyone, so we have to stop that. I feel like you could have done that same thing, and I feel like it also could have been a little bit more effective. I could be wrong, but I feel like for me, it could have definitely been a lot more effective because it just wasn't necessary in the beginning. But I guess
Yeah,
you have to introduce Krieg too.
yeah, you had to introduce the three to know each other somehow, and I guess that was one way to do it, to introduce them three so that they're together at a different location. But
Yeah, but
him
again, you
starting
could
out
tell.
is, "Hey, I'm here to rescue you," and then all of a sudden it's shifted so much when he's on the planet, and they just go like, "Oh, well, it's 5 days or 2 weeks later or whatever." They just keep
Yeah,
jumping time.
I mean, like, yeah, I agree with you. I just think you could achieve that same effect by him kind of explaining it later on rather
Yeah,
than
but
starting the movie that way.
how would you be able to explain it? Just him talking? Oh, we met. I rescued her. Or,
Well, like the whole, we both got guns to each other's heads, like, what's going on here? Or where he's like, telling he's got the gun on Lilith. You can do that, was it called like exposition? You could do that kind of the exposition of that, like, this is what happened. I went and got her. That's why he wants her, and you can't let that happen. You could find a way to work it into that conversation where he's like got a gun on her saying, well, like, now you're gone because if you're trying to take her back to him, I can't let that happen. You could tell that
yeah,
story then.
I can kind of see why they have that rescue scene then, because then you have the psycho, right? What's his
Yeah.
name? Like
Krieg.
Crom,
Krieg.
Krieg.
Yep.
You have Krieg that's there, and it would be like, okay, how do you explain Krieg? And Krieg is just like over the top, murders everything.
I mean, he can also explain. He could easily be like, well, it was obvious in that introduction that Krieg and Tina had a relationship in some way,
Right.
and he could just be like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. This dude just showed up, started helping her. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, that helps me. Like, I don't know. You're gonna have to talk to them. I got no. You could play that comedy aspect of that up a little bit, and I think you could pull it off.
Hmm. Well, it's all rewards and payoffs, right? So,
Hmm.
or setups for payoffs. So the setup was the rescue arc, which then leads you into the next arc, which would be the bounty. So then she's having a bounty with her. They go into the bar. I can't stand when they make the actors say, "I'm old,"
What do you
or
mean?
"I'm too old for this,"
Ah, okay, okay.
or uh, "You used to be closer," or "I used to be able to do that." Anytime they make the actors say that they're old, it's like, oh, come on. Don't do that. Don't make the audience seem like they're idiots that you have to explain it to them.
Well, I will say, at least in this instance, Lilith in the game is not old.
Sure.
So I could understand that being confusing, but it's like, I don't know why they went that whole, like, oh, I'm too old for this crap type of thing, when it's like, in realities, the character should be like in their mid to late 20s.
Right. But this is an adaptation, so there's going to be some variances.
Yeah, that's just one I can't wrap my head around.
But I just can't stand the fact that they make the actors do that. That's just annoying. And then it goes so far as to have this side character start to, oh, hey, you old bag of, and then she just pops him one, smashes his head in, or whatever she did. That's how you should treat it. If you wanted to say, this character's older, have someone else walk in, say it, and get their head slammed in for saying it. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. That's it's just not something that's really stuck out to me. But now that you said it, it probably will.
Well, they've been doing that. Like they did that with Indiana Jones. They did it with him twice.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
They're doing it.
we could see it, you know.
They're doing it with Han Solo. They just kept doing it with all these characters that are just getting older, obviously, because they have to bring them back because they can't come up with an original idea anymore.
Why would you when the old ideas made so much money? I mean, that's all they want is the money. It's gonna make them money.
Yeah, and then they just make them look bad, and then it's like, oh yeah, they're so old and feeble. Look at that, ha,
And
and
then,
then kill
well,
them.
they got to get rid of the old generation to bring in the new. Like as much
Yeah,
as we don't like it, I understand it, but
mm,
you know,
that's not how you do it. Because then you
yeah,
just make people not care about whatever you're trying to create because you're destroying what they like. It's just stupid.
yeah, but they're aiming for those people that don't know the details, like those individuals. Like I
Those
guess
people aren't watching it. The people that are watching it are fans of the series.
well, if they advertise it right and it's decent enough, they're trying to bring in those new people. They're not worried about people that know what's going on for the most part, which I will defend the movie. This movie, Borderlands, the story from what I know is I've heard people say how the biggest complaint is like it doesn't follow the source material. There's a couple
Yeah,
big leaps that they took, and I'm okay with it because I understand why they did it. And I'm looking at it from like somebody that doesn't know any of these details. Like, as soon as they're talking about Tina being like his daughter because she can open the vault, I knew right away, like, no, she's not the one that can do it. But I understood that they're not talking to me. They're finding a way to include Tina because Tina's from the second game, but she's one of the most popular characters in that game. So how
yeah,
do you include Tina? You make it to where they think Tina's the one can open the gate or the vault.
right.
Like I understand that. So no, that's not accurate to the source material, but that's how they shoehorned Tina in there. That's
Yeah,
not it wasn't bad. It was a pretty good little added on type of story to the whole movie. But I mean, for the most part, the game, the original first Borderlands game, is about vault hunters trying to open a vault. And essentially, that's what the movie did.
yeah. And they lead you through this journey in the movie, which is a fun ride of we're going from becoming rescuers that head into this now bounty hunter era. And it's her kind of like I wouldn't say that she recruited Cladtrap in any way.
More
The
like Claptrap recruited her, or
Yeah.
she, yeah. But
Then you get introduced to another character, Cladtrap, which is a robot, and it keeps adding to the repertoire of how many characters can we add to this story that it's just not going to get confusing.
I will say, with the way they included Claptrap,
Hmm.
to where, like I said, the little piece of the story that they changed, I knew the real story. Lilith is indeed basically the key. And the way they included Claptrap basically was like programmed by her mother because her mother knew all this, and he was just waiting for her return to that planet, anyways. So the way they introduced that character with that little bit of a, that changed story arc, that's kind of how they brought him in a pretty slick way, in my opinion. I was like, okay, I kind of saw it coming because, like I said, I knew Lilith was the key and it's not Tina. I was just like, how are they going to explain this?
Right.
But, and then it's like, yeah, like that makes sense that her mother knew she would come back eventually because of the situation where like the people came, killed everyone, she got her off the planet. Like, yeah, it makes sense for her to say, like, if I'm not going to be here, I need to leave her a guardian. And there's Claptrap. I think it's a great way to bring him into it instead of, because like in the video game, he's totally kind of a different thing. And
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to make him part of the movie versus how it was done in the video game.
So he was just in town, right? And then
Well, he was
would do
on the
like
planet.
voiceover.
What do you mean?
Didn't he do like tutorial guidance?
Oh,
Was
like he
that
was a tour guide or something? I don't remember. I thought he was just like, oh yeah. The vibe I got was that he was just kind of wandering around waiting for her. But I don't know. I might have missed some detail that you picked up.
well, I'm talking about for the video game. Wasn't
Oh
that
yeah, the video
he
game, he was just an introduction. Like, hey,
yeah,
I'm here to help you out and guide you to the places you need to be and give you he was the way to tell us how to play the game.
yeah. So in
He
this one
was
he was more of a kind of like a little butler or chauffeur type character.
yeah, like a sidekick in a butler servant type way. Yes.
Yeah. So then it became
Yes.
that kind of like little buddy part of her like bounty hunter escapades.
Hmm.
And then it kind of goes and shows you her going through the desert to try and find Tiny Tina.
Yeah.
And then you get into this rumble. They get into it, and then they all escape. Then it's she fights Krieg, runs into Roland. Now you have this big group of Lilith, Roland, Claptrap, Tiny Tina, Krieg,
Yeah.
and they're all trying to escape from her creator, her dad, whatever you want to call him, Atlas,
Yeah.
and then all the other like I can't remember the name of the group that Nox is part of.
Um,
It's like his
crap.
army or his like
Lance, something Lance. I know what it is. It was on the tip of my tongue, and you asked me. Crimson Lance,
Crimson Lance.
the
So
Crimson
that's the
Lance.
group she's part of.
Yeah, like their army,
Yeah. And
which
they're trying to
Roland used to be a
catch
part
Tiny
of.
Tina. Yeah, Roland was part of that. He separated and
Yeah.
then
And if I recall, it's accurate to the game. Just saying.
okay, very nice. And then they're all trying to get Tiny Tina while she's in this like bounty hunter mode to hey, I found her first, I need to take her to Atlas first. And then it escalates into there when they want finally reach town and run into Moxie.
Yep.
So then we get into a different arc, which is now she's turning into a vault hunter. As much as she keeps saying, I'm not a vault hunter, I'm not a vault hunter.
Yeah. But see, and that's the thing, though. Like, she's kind of going along with them at this point because, like she says, like, I'm already dead, so I don't have any other choices. It's like, it's either I ignore this and they come after me and eventually kill me, or I just see this through.
Yeah,
So it's like that's when it's like that's her transition from being like fine. Like, I have to go open this vault because I'm probably going to die either way. I'd rather go out, I guess, in a blaze of glory instead of just letting them hunt me down. So it's like, I- she's still not really a vault hunter. She's a bounty hunter in the movie, but she's like accepted her fate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's like rescuer, vault hunter, bounty hunter, because she does like have discussions about the vault with the next character that gets added on, which is Tanis.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, we got to get these keys. And it's like, well, you got this key already. Now you got this key that I have. And you already have the third key, which is, the girl. So it's like,
Well,
oh, you have all of it. There's no real adventure to find the keys.
they did have to go find one of them. Like
Uh,
they already had one key because remember Lilith found one of them, and like because they went to like the Caustic Caverns, which is
right,
a
right.
area in the video game, and they went there to get the key, and Lilith found it like right away. And the second that happened, I had that thought like, well, how did she find? And then I was like, oh yeah, because I know she is like she's the Firehawk. She's the one that can open the vault. So obviously she had like a natural attraction to it, like it pulled her to it type of thing. So it was like, of course it made sense that she found it right away, but that is the one key that they didn't have. She just
Right.
didn't know that Tiny Tina was supposed to be the other key.
So, yes, after a small little jaunt through the extreme psychos, they go to their warehouse, get the second key.
Good way to
So
put it.
now they
Blood
have
shots is what they're called.
bloodshots.
I'm telling you, I got the
Uh,
details, man. I know this stuff. I know this stuff.
um, but gets the key, and then they continue on their journey. Um, so continuing the three arcs of Rescuer, Bounty Hunter, the Vault, did you was it any like jarring between the different arcs of the character, or was it a fun ride going through it?
I say for the most part, maybe it's because my expectations were lowered so much, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've watched it, watched it again with my wife, and I think I've even watched it a time after that on my own, just kind of on after I got off work. And every single time I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't, it's not 100% accurate. And if that's what people wanted, like, I think that's unrealistic expectations. You know, there's going to be some things that are changed, but I mean, it's an enjoyable story, and the way they kind of flow from one thing to another, it never felt like it was being drug out, and it never felt like it was going on too long. For me personally, I guess. I think they hit a really good tempo with the way they kind of transitioned from one thing to the next and kind of gave you enough details, but also it's like you weren't falling behind, but it wasn't just so oversaturated that you just no longer cared. It was just the right amount of information to get you from point A to point B to point C to point D and so forth and so on.
Yeah. So I, hmm,
Disagree, I assume.
yes, I slightly disagree. So I felt like the transitions were just quick jaunts of those story arcs of we have this character that's supposed to be like the rescuer or this protector type character. Then we have this little jaunt of a bounty hunter that we don't even see that she captures the bounty, and the Atlas crew or whatever just kills it. So does she even get paid for that? So
Yeah. They
there's
said
like,
she gets paid whether he's alive or dead.
right, but she doesn't turn anybody in. It cuts to the next scene. So there's like aspects that just felt so like pushed through that I wanted to watch. Like, oh, did she get cool different guns? Is she gonna go capture somebody? Nope, none of that happens. It's just a quick bar scene of her bounty hunter esque, and then it's like quick scenes out in the desert, and it's like 2 weeks later, I ran into the people that live here, and then pushed into the Vault Hunter arc. And that's where most of the time is spent is we're gonna go and try to do the vault stuff, and she's like grumbling about doing it. She's not a vault hunter.
I will say, like, with the bounty in the beginning, like, I get what you're saying, and
Yeah,
like, I can see that aspect, but to be honest, like, the bounty I didn't care about at all. Like, they just established to me that she is a bounty hunter. That's all that, that's all that served. That's the only purpose that that served. That guy being there because he is a bounty that she got.
right,
So the fact that they're like, oh, well, dead or alive, you get your reward, and they take him out. I no longer cared about that character because he served his purpose. Now I know she's a bounty hunter. I never thought twice about that.
right. But you're also looking at it from the point of a video game, right? You have this well-established character that you know. Oh, well, she is part of the game. She's going to become this. She's going to do that. And so you're already knowing what to expect when it comes out of this. I
Absolutely, yes.
barely played the game. So me watching the movie now is I'm watching this character get pushed through, so it's not a character that I'm really going to give a crap because they're just rushing through it.
And that's part of the reason that I don't understand that from what I'm hearing, it's like the video game community that are just destroying this movie. And here you have somebody that's played every single Borderlands game, even most of the Telltale games, Tall Tale or whatever. Tall,
Yeah, tall
like
tale.
I played all those too, and
Yeah,
it's like I didn't have a problem with it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Didn't think it was a bad movie at all. Wasn't great. Things I would change, but it wasn't bad. And here's somebody that's like, I don't know the story as much, but I played the games a little bit, and you're like the opposite. I'm surprised by that.
yeah. I bought most of the games
Did you beat
except for the
all of
tall
them?
tale ones. Oh, heck no.
No, see,
Uh,
I've beat every single Borderlands game, and I've also done multiple playthroughs of each and every one of them.
yeah, I got bored too quickly with the rinse repeat of weapons and just playing by myself. I was like, nah, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go play something else, like
But also that being said,
Diablo.
I did get to a point to where I got like that, to where I was just like, this is boring. But then I just started modding it. And I guess that's a big reason why I like playing it by myself, because if you're playing multiplayer games and you're modding it so you have an unfair advantage. That's unsportsman. Like, come on, get out of here with that. Nobody else is having fun but you, and you're ruining somebody's day. But
Yeah,
if you're going to play a single player game, you can mod the crap out of it. And I had a lot of fun modding the game, like game saves and stuff like that, to where I had these overpowered weapons and shields. And I love just mowing everything down. Like, it was no longer about getting loot, it was just about annihilating everything in one shot because it was fun to go through and play this game again.
yeah, I can see that, but uh, it wasn't for me. I didn't mod it. I just played it the way it came out. Yeah, there's just aspects to it that just wasn't fun for me.
I did like the really childish humor to it. It was like, it's like fart jokes and toilet humor, but for some odd reason, the way they approached it, like Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2, like that game, he's one of my favorite villains of all times because he's just so ridiculous and like over the top egotistical type of thing. And I feel like they did a similar thing with the humor throughout with most of the characters. Like it was really stupid, childish humor a lot of moments, but for some odd reason, it just kind of got me. And I was like, all right, like this is a lot of silly fun on top of like the looting and you have these special abilities that you can was it like over time they get better. Why am I blanking on the word upgrade? Like upgrade them and like it just made a big difference for me. Like I love that game so much. But we're talking about sorry. I started thinking like, I gotta pull my Borderlands 3 up here and spend some of my keys here and see what I can get.
Yeah. So, um, moving on to the overall aspect of the movie now. When watching it, did you feel like, this is a good representation of the game for me? Or did you want something else out of it? Like, I needed a better movie.
I mean, I wouldn't want to say a good representation, but I guess I feel like all the bad press that's been on the internet and just everywhere about this movie has made me feel like I've been more lenient because I feel like they've come down on this movie way more than they should. Like I've heard it's just the worst of the worst and it's just garbage, shouldn't watch it. It doesn't deserve any of that. Like if you know nothing about Borderlands, I think you can have fun with this movie.
Yeah,
And even if you know a little bit about Borderlands, I think you can have fun with this movie. Like if you want to pick it apart, yeah, you can be like, oh, well, Tiny Tina's not the key, and the Iridium God or whatever it was, and we all know Lilith is, and Firehawk stuff, and all that. Like, yeah, sure, you can be upset. Just you got to understand, Tina's in there because she's popular, so they had to shoehorn her into the original story. But I mean, I I thought it was really, really good. And maybe it's because I don't understand the amount of hate and I'm trying to be lenient and give it more credit.
yeah,
But I mean, the little things that they did that weren't the way the original story played out, I understand why they did it. So like, I just don't understand the hate,
okay,
and that makes me want to recommend it to people because
yeah,
it's not bad. It's not great. It's a mediocre movie, but it's a fun
yeah.
mediocre movie.
Okay, that's fair. Um, yeah, I've been liking it. Overall, it's an okay movie for like recommending to someone that go, "Hey, you want an action comedy? This will fit that ticket."
Oh yeah. And to be
Is it
honest,
gonna replace like your favorite movie of,
no.
I don't know, um,
Anything.
yeah, whatever action movie, uh,
The Other Guys, that's a
Terminator?
good action
No.
comedy.
What?
Action comedy. Other Guys is great. You're out of your mind.
No, Other Guys is not.
It's phenomenal.
No, no.
You're wrong.
Um, really? It's a great action comedy that you have two people jump off a roof?
That's the comedy part. It's so stupid. They aimed for
Yeah,
the bushes.
you
They
got that
aimed for
right.
the bushes.
You got that right.
You can't see the humor and the stupidity.
Um, I saw the stupid movie. Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, come on.
You're so
They
spot on.
they were so cocky with how good they were at their job that they were so confident they could land in the bushes that didn't exist.
Yeah, they're gonna jump off of.
Yeah,
How tall was that building?
it was pretty tall. It was tall. It
Four,
was extremely.
five-story building.
But
Yeah.
the over exaggeration is what makes it funnier to me.
We're talking about Borderlands, not a crappy movie. All right.
I'm not going to allow that. It's not crappy, but yes, you're right
Yeah.
about Borderlands. Not crap. It's not crappy. Other guys is good, but Borderlands, I'm interested in your opinion.
So I overall it's okay movie that I think I'd be willing to watch a second one if it came out.
But
Which
do you think it's even a possibility at this point?
I think if
So
Netflix picked it up or one of these like streaming services to go, hey, I'd be willing to throw 80 grand or 80 million at this for a second one.
okay, so
They
you
could
have to
get like a pretty
keep
popular show on it.
keep this in mind. From what we were talking about earlier, it cost $115 million to make this movie.
Yeah.
The theatrical run so far, from what I believe I read earlier, it's no longer in theaters,
Okay.
but it let's just assume it's out of theaters today, right now. So
Yeah.
far, it's only made $32 million. So that's a big gap. That's a big amount of money that this movie has lost. Do you think Netflix or somebody like Prime or even Yahoo? I don't think they do that anymore, but they did it with Community, so who knows? But do you really think that they would? That's a lot of money. What? Don't make me do math. 115,000 minus 32,000 or million minus 32 million.
Yeah. So about 70 million.
Okay, yeah, I was
Um,
assuming 80. So do you think they want to? That's a lot to lose, man.
but that's the thing. You wouldn't have to try to establish something new. Like they have all these Netflix original series. They could pick up Borderlands and go, "Hey, we'll make the second one exclusive on Netflix. Here's Borderlands 2." So all those people, they know at least 30 million of them or 30 million worth of views could be made from it. And if they have it over the life of Netflix, hey, there's another movie for them that nowhere else is going to be able to get.
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm thinking how many of those, that $30 million that it made, how many of those people are actually going to return for a second one? Especially with all the bad publicity, you got to assume 15 million of that are from people that hated it and will never even consider anything new, regardless of where it comes from or who does it. So, in my mind, there's not enough returning customers. I can't imagine that Netflix or another company like Prime or something wouldn't be thinking that same way versus because the $32 million is definitely not all returning viewers.
Sure, and that's also theater views, right? That's
Yeah,
not
that
like
$32 million they made in theaters. Yes.
that's not the digital sales that hey, you're watching it early, you're paying the $25. This is just theater, right?
Yeah, but that's where your money comes from. You know what I mean? Like a large portion, you're
Sure.
not going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars in a year off of your video releases, but you can make millions in a year off of your 3 to 6 month run in the theater.
Yeah,
And
but your streaming service could definitely do something with it, like the Rebel Moon series of what's his bucket?
Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder, yeah. Like that random series that they were trying to make like a Star Wars type thing. They
I
came out
mean,
with a one and two.
Zack Snyder at that time is a little different. Like, I feel like he's a bigger name. Yeah, Eli Roth isn't a little name by any means, but
Yeah.
he wasn't really like a focal point. Like, I pretty much kind of forgot he was involved until like now that we're talking about it. It's
Okay.
like I didn't watch there aren't people watching Borderlands because Eli Roth directed it. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
watching it because it's Borderlands.
Right.
I could see somebody watching Rebel Moon because they love Zack Snyder and they just want to see what he does.
Okay, that's fair. But that is just an example. You could always do like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Glass Onion, that detective show. There's multiple ones
Yeah.
only on Netflix.
Wasn't that originally a Netflix movie though? Or am I
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you
So I
get the
mean,
second one of Borderlands, just just putting that out there as something that it could happen on one of these side streaming services like Peacock,
don't
Netflix.
don't get me wrong. I 100% hope you're right. Because my God, do I want another Borderlands movie with Handsome Jack? I'll
Yeah.
throw money at that all day. Yeah, like if you find the right guy, even if you don't find somebody that I see in a trailer and I go, I love him,
Yeah.
I still want to check it out. But if you find the right guy, oh, the amount of money I'll throw just to see that, like I'll throw money at it all day. So I hope
Yeah.
you're right. Like I'm not I don't think it will happen, but I would love to see another one. I would absolutely love to see another one.
Okay. So that goes into our next part, our ranking. So I got a 1 through 5 here, like
I figured we were
usual.
doing 1 through 5. Yep.
We'll start with number 5, just as good as the game. Number 4, watch it again and again. Number 3, okay. Number 2, wish it was better. And number 1, sucks. So, Fry, what is your ranking?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna throw it back at you. I want you to go first. I want to know what yours is.
Oh, well, that's dirty.
I
Well,
already got mine. Mine's not changing. Mine's not
okay.
changing.
I am gonna go with the number 3. It is okay. So I'd be willing to watch another one, but if they never ever release the second one, it's not the end of the day for me. I'd be okay. What?
I mean, it's like I agree with you,
So
but
is your what is your ranking then?
mine is definitely a 4.
Okay.
And I say it's a 4 because you're not wrong. It is
Yeah.
a 3. It is an okay movie. It's
Yeah.
nothing special. Like I said earlier, mediocre is a pretty good word for it. It's not something that I think most people are going to absolutely hate, but it's not something that somebody's going to remember. Easily, a lot of people are going to go watch it and forget about it the next day. But
Yeah.
I personally was really excited. I heard about them doing a Borderlands movie years and years and years ago, and it never happened, never happened, never happened.
Yeah.
So something I'd been looking forward to a possibility of happening. And like maybe my expectations were so low that I'm overlooking some things that I wouldn't have. If I expected it to be really great, I might have been like, I hated that. But I expected it to be just garbage. So I went into it completely open minded, and ultimately, it wasn't bad. I have watched it multiple times, and it's definitely going to be something I watch multiple times in the future. I have a sick disease where I watch the same crap over and over and over and over again. And this is going to get put into that rotation. It was fun. I've had fun with it every single time I've watched it,
Uh-huh.
but it's definitely not accurate to the game. There are
Yeah.
aspects that they took liberties with, which I understand, and I'm okay with what they did, and I like the way they did it because it's going to happen. It could have been worse. You know, Tiny Tina had nothing to do with the original game. So if they're making a movie based on the original game, right there, you're automatically wrong. They got
Right.
to get her in there somehow. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So
Popular
it's
character.
yeah, one of the most popular characters. You'd be crazy not to include her, and I was happy to see her.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not a great movie. It's not like, a number 5 or like a 10. And it's not like super accurate to the game 100%,
Okay. So
but
with a number 4 ranking, would you recommend it to somebody? If
absolutely.
somebody's
I think
listening, would you recommend it?
absolutely. Everybody should watch it at least once. At least once. Like it might even get people into the game that normally would never play the game. Like I've had that happen to me before where I've played games, realized it was a movie, or saw a movie and was like, "Oh, they made a game, I'll go play the game." Like absolutely watch it. You never know. Like everybody should see it once. It's fun. It's fun enough that if you know nothing about it, you might walk away saying, "Hey, that actually is a pretty good movie. I like that. I want to see where that story goes." And if you want the actual story, it continues. You just got to go buy the games.
Hmm. Yeah. It could be possible, but they didn't really have many aspects except for the characters of the games. Like there wasn't a lot of, hey, let's modify this weapon to shoot 3 bullets, or let's modify this to shoot fire, or you know.
I mean, you're right, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff they put in the third game that I wish was in the first game. And I think those aspects are 10 times better than the original game. But is the third game better? No, third game is garbage. Do I still play it? Yeah, I still play it. Do I still have fun with it? Yeah, I still have fun with it. But the story is trash. So it's like, I mean, give and take. You know what I'm saying? Give and take.
Yeah,
Got a little sidetracked. Sorry.
that's all right.
I was trying to
Well,
make a point.
well, I would recommend it as like, hey, do you want to watch a movie that's just popcorn movie for the weekend? Let's go watch a flick. Borderlands would be a good fit for it.
Oh, yeah. I
Do I
actually wish I would have seen it in theaters.
do I think I'd be watching it over and over and over? Will I watch it maybe once a year? Maybe. Would I watch it if somebody else wanted to watch it? Yeah, I'd be okay watching that. But
And that's the appropriate response.
yeah,
Like, if somebody else wants to watch, you'd be like, yeah, sure, why not?
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm gonna
So,
watch it multiple times in the background when I'm doing random stuff.
right, right. But uh, that was our current review and discussion of Borderlands. Hopefully, one day there might be a second one, and we'll be sure to watch and talk about that one as well.
I don't think it'll happen, but I don't know. I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd be excited. Even
You'd
if
be
the
excited.
even if the trailer looked like garbage, I would
Yeah,
just be like, I would go to the theater to see it if they had a second one in theaters. Because I think this original one, the trailer looked like garbage, and I hated everything about it from the beginning. But if I had
that's
never
funny.
watched any of those trailers, I would have went to the theater and I probably would have enjoyed it.
I like the trailer. The trailer was okay,
I hated the trailer.
especially Claptrap's voice. It was fine.
Still wish, whatever reason they didn't get the original guy, I wish they could have worked that out and got the original guy. I would have really loved that. But Jack Black was fine. You're not wrong. He was
Yeah,
very acceptable, and it didn't sound that different for me to
it
make
didn't.
much of a complaint.
Yeah, he did a good job. It sounded just like uh, the little robot.
I mean, I could tell the difference, but yeah, it was close enough. It was close enough, but I can still hear Jack Black in that character in that movie. It's hard for me not to hear it.
Well, as someone that didn't get obsessed with the games, it was fairly similar.
Obsessed is fair. It's pretty fair.
Well,
One of
thanks.
one of my
Well,
favorite game franchises. All right, sorry.
that's all right. I know.
Let's get
Well,
off here
thanks.
so I can play some.
Thanks everyone for listening. It's always good to see you. I'm Wolf Vision.
Fry.
Have a good one.